Here's a quick video on a practice problem that you'll likely see on a test. So we'll give you a set of equations and a number of lines on a graph and ask you to match these equations to the corresponding graphs. Now there's a number of ways to approach this. Now remember our equation y equals mx plus b. There's a lot of different forms that this can be written, but usually I like looking at it from this way. And remember, m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. So let's think about what's one way we can think about it. Well, one thing we can do is take a look at our slope m, right? And even without looking at the exact numbers, we can look at, is it positive, is it negative, or if it's zero. So let's start off when it's zero. So here's a case when it's zero. What does a zero slope mean? Rise over run is our slope, right? So a zero slope would be a horizontal line. So that will correspond to B, right? So immediately I can identify that, right? A zero slope. A positive slope means the rise and run are in the same direction. So if X is increasing, Y is also increasing. So we can really see that line C, line D, and line E are positive, and lines A and F are negative. That helps us a lot. But I don't really want to count the slopes just yet. Let's see if we can find another way to down select our different equations and lines. B is our y-intercept, right? So we can look at our y-intercepts. What does the y-intercept mean? It means the point that your line intersects the y-axis. Here's our y-axis. This vertical line is our y-axis. All right, so let's take a look at some of the intercepts. Well, I don't see anything hitting the origin, the 0, 0 point. Does that make sense? If I look at my equations here, I have no 0 y-intercepts, right? I have positive 2, negative 1, positive 2, positive 6, positive 3, and positive 6. So if I look at, let's say, line F, this line here, I see that the y-intercept is 6, positive 6, and the slope is negative. As x increases, y decreases, so it's a negative slope. So can I find a negative value? So equation 2 has a negative slope, and equation 4 has a negative slope. Equation 4 also has a y-intercept of 6. So let's see, line F is line 4. Okay. Well, my only other negative slope is line A. So line A, let's look at the y-intercept. That's at negative 1. That corresponds to equation 2. That's line A. All right, so now we have equation 1, 3, and 4, and 6. So equations 1 has a slope of 4. Equations 3 and 6 both have a slope of 1. Whenever slopes are equal to each other, that means we have parallel lines, right? We see that in line A and F. Those are parallel lines because of the same slope. And so that corresponds to negative 2 and negative 2. So lines 3, or equation 3 and 6 have the same slope. So I expect those to be parallel lines. I see that lines C and D are parallel lines. So that those will be corresponding to it, which means line or equation 1 will correspond to line E, right? And we do see that it's a steeper slope than line C and D. And it makes sense because the slope is 4 as opposed to 1 for equations 3 and 6. We can double check that the y-intercept is correct. So for equation 1, the y-intercept should be 2. If I look at line E, I see that it intercepts the y-axis at 0.2. So that's correct. So now we have 2 left, equation 3 and equation 6. So equation 3 and 6 are parallel. So the only difference is the y-intercepts. One's at 2 and the other one is at 6. So line D, this green line here, has a y-intercept of 2. So that corresponds to equation 3. And then line C, this red line here, has a y-intercept of 6. So that corresponds to equation 6. So we can match it just like that. So hopefully you are able to match it that way. We didn't at all count to check the slopes. Now, if there are more lines, or if there are more lines that were less distinct, then you would need to verify the slopes. You can look at this graph and verify the slopes as well. We'll do a couple more practice problems with a similar fashion, because if you're learning about linear equations for the first time, all it is practice, right? So recognizing the slope and the behavior of the slopes and recognizing the y-intercepts. We'll do a couple more problems that are similar to this level, and then we'll look at a little bit more complex systems like this and give you more practice problems like that. I'll go through those a little bit quicker, and then we'll look at intersecting lines. We'll look at lines intersecting the x-axis or the y-axis and how you can determine from the equation. So we'll do a bunch of different practice. I'll try to make these videos shorter and shorter so you can kind of go through them quickly and just focus on the equation types that are problem types that you're struggling with. Now, if you are struggling with a specific type, you can put it in the comments if I haven't covered a practice problem video relating to that, and I will happily create some more videos that refer directly to what you're struggling with.